Welcome to this Tuesday reflection on May the 12th in Christian Aid Week. Some years ago, I was privileged to visit Kerala in South India, along with some other senior women clergy in the Church of England. The purpose of the visit was to look at ways in which women in some of the poorest communities in the country were being empowered to transform their villages. The visit was organised by Christian Aid, and we worked closely with them and their partners on the ground to experience as best we could what living in poverty means for local communities. We lived for a week with families in villages where no one had seen a white person before. I remember the look of astonishment on the faces of the village children when we arrived. Christian Aid's partners had worked with the villagers to teach them how to build latrines and look after livestock. They were careful not to assume what the needs were, nor do things on behalf of the community. Instead, there was a long process of consultation whereby they gained the trust of the villagers and listened to what the real needs were. They then taught the villagers skills and trained them so that they could do things for themselves. A number of things will stay with me from that experience. The first was their incredible hospitality and generosity. They had so little, and yet they gave us what they had. The family I stayed with had one bed, which they gave up for my colleague and I to sleep in. The women of the house slept on the floor of the house, the men on the floor outside. They insisted on us eating first, as much as we wanted, before they would eat themselves. It felt very awkward to us, given the little they had. But hospitality was important to them, and a point of pride. There was also a great sense of community. They shared what they had with one another. If one household ran out of something, then they borrowed from a neighbour. When the cow that lived outside the back door of the house I was staying in gave birth early one morning, neighbours were there to help and to rejoice in the safe delivery of a female calf, one that would provide milk into the future and other calves to sell. But what was really exciting was meeting and talking with 3 groups of women who had been trained and supported in establishing projects that were transforming their communities. One group was working with local government to develop systems that would bring clean water into their villages. Another group was making and selling dried milk for newborn babies. A third had formed a cooperative, growing rice in paddy fields, providing the women with a regular wage to support their families and communities. In each case, Christian Aid and its partners were working with and alongside local communities, offering education as well as resources to bring about transformation to local people. As you probably know, this week is Christian Aid Week, and a quick look at the Christian Aid website shows that this kind of transformational work remains at the heart of what they do. Fighting injustice that leads to communities living in poverty in the first place, campaigning for change, and responding to humanitarian need. At the moment, of course, they're working hard alongside communities all over the world to try and minimise the impact of COVID-19, training community leaders and providing essential resources such as soap and disinfectant, as well as education in healthcare and how to keep safe. Take a look at their work on the Christian Aid websites and give thanks for all that they're doing to transform lives and communities across the world, and particularly at this time of such acute need, where, as always, the poorest of the poor are suffering most. Here's one of their prayers. Loving God, may your love that never fails strengthen the weak, encourage the fearful, calm the anxious, heal the sick through your church, your washed hands and feet on earth, distant but still present, virtual but still connected, apart but still helping. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. Amen.